to Tapped Out, hosted by Brendan Tobin and Sean Levine, only on the BetQL network.
You know what that bell means? It's Saturday night. It's fight night. Welcome in to the BetQL network. It is Tapped Out, produced by Jake Noacker, with my co-host Brendan Tobin. I'm the sports machine, Sean Levine. If boxing is your thing, Bud Crawford steps into the ring tonight. If you like the UFC, you had some action earlier today from Abu Dhabi. We'll break it all down. And we had a pay-per-view last week. Before we get into it, BT, what are you laughing at? Don't tell me you're laughing at this hat right now.
You know UFC 305 is still a few weeks away, right, dude? Are you like, you got your didgeridoo somewhere? You about to go to like go get a bloomin' onion? What do you got going on here?
Actually, my timing, that's true. This would be appropriate here in a few weeks. No, I was out by the pool earlier today, and I'm pasty, and I didn't want my bald head to get burned. Thank you very much. But I will be wearing this when they take the Octagon over to Australia coming up here pretty soon. It was in Abu Dhabi, the cage today. Corey Sandhagen, Umar Nurmagomedov, easy for me to say, Umar Nurmagomedov was the main event. We'll break that one down here in a second. Let's talk about last Saturday night, where Leon Edwards lost his belt to Bilal Muhammad. Credit to producer Jake. At the very end of the show, he was like, you want to make some money? Put it down on Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. And yeah, Bilal, like in the last 5 seconds, broke his nose. But besides that, I thought he pretty much dominated the entire fight.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think it was with round 2 where Leon had his back and had his chance to really submit him. But like outside of that, it was all Bilal Muhammad. I mean, it was honestly probably the most Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad fight that you could probably think of. Right. I mean, if you were to say, like, how exactly would you picture a Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards fight? That's about how you thought it would go. I guess you could probably be impressed with Bilal's hands because I think he certainly got the better in the stand-up than most thought that he would. Didn't really threat with submissions, but, I mean, held Leon in check and wins, dude. That's what he does. He's a winner. He goes out there and he just finds a way to go get victory. And, you know, congratulations to him. I mean, like, nobody really wanted to give him that shot at the belt, and here he is. He gets the championship.
Have you ever can you ever remember a champion being so lackluster defending his belt? Like, I was thinking about championship fights recently in Colby Covington, but he was, of course, the contender. I'm talking about the current champion because the entire night, if you didn't know it, Leon did not look like a champion. I don't know what was up, but he looked awful last Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture. I remember, you know, some Tyron Woodley defenses. I feel like were not up to snuff. Like, we're not that great. The Damian Maia fights, the Wonder Boy fights, you know, come to mind that they weren't like the greatest defenses in the world, but he got it done. As far as like just not having that it factor that he's had, I don't know. I just think that with Bilal, like he knew, like, first of all, he's a very smart fighter. He, I think, knew what he was getting into because he did have that, you know, data of fighting him in the past, and it does look like he got better training with Khabib, working on his stuff in the stand-up. So I think that's more just giving the credit to Bilal. I don't think that Leon looked like he had too much of an off night. I think that I think Bilal was able to get to his game better. How good is Bilal? Do you think he defends his belt? I think he can on certain matchups for sure. I still think, you know, if I had to like handicap it this time next year, I think if I could make a penny on it, I think I'd still bet Shavkat. I still think he's the most talented guy in the division, and finally seems like he's going to get his shot at winning, and he just seems so dangerous everywhere. If anybody is most likely to get it done, I think it's him. Any of the young guys like Ian Gary, JDM, I don't know if they're ready for Bilal Muhammad, but I think Shavkat is. Co-main event didn't last long. There was a belt on the line. Well, an interim belt in theory. Tom Aspinall defended against Curtis Blades. I told you boys it would be done in one. I told producer Kenny it might not even last 60 seconds. It lasted exactly 1 minute. Tom Aspinall is exactly who I thought that he was. He called out John Jones afterwards. You were saying that he had to look great. He had to get John's ear. Do you think that was enough where we're going to see that fight? I think he's on his way. I think, like, you know, it's definitely the drumbeat is more there that, like, this is the guy at heavyweight right now. I think everybody realizes, like, if he gets into the octagon every single time and every fight ends in 45 seconds to 2 minutes, you know, how that's pretty damn unstoppable and pretty damn impressive, especially at that weight class. like I told you last week, I thought he needed to be a little bit more vicious. And I know that's not his nature. I know he's a gentleman. I know that he's a very nice guy. And he did it typical to Tom Aspinall. He's like, I love you, John. I just think I'm a better fighter than, I'm like, that's cute. But like, you can't really run that in the promo. So I don't know if he's definitely
you wanted him to go Nick Diaz, George St. Pierre.
Yes.
George, you're scared. You don't want to fight me, George. You're scared. You're scared of everybody. That's what you wanted.
Especially with the emotions running high of it being in the octagon, like with the adrenaline pumping. I just think that he has that opportunity there. You have all the mic time you want. You just ended your fight in a minute. So that would be my only critique with Tom Aspinall is I don't think he moved it forward anymore of getting John to definitely want him next. I think he's probably moved forward and getting some of the fans still behind him as the legitimate heavyweight champion of the world, but I think he could have done better with the call out.
Where are you at, George? You're scared. What a great call out by Nick Diaz that night. Patty the Batty. We were questioning him going into the fight. He shut me up. I mean, that sub was rather impressive. He basically subbed him 3 different ways. He could have broke his arm, his leg. He could have. I mean, that was an awesome. It only took 1 round against King Grain. What do you think about Patty now compared to what you did before last Saturday night?
I think true to the bonuses, nobody had a better UFC 304. Like he
was awesome.
He had the most pressure on him, and I think he had probably the most memorable performance. I think that, you just hope from here that he's very dedicated and that he doesn't balloon up. He doesn't go a la Ricky Hatton did back in the day, turn it into Ricky Fatton outside the cage. Like I hope that Patty just stays on the straight and narrow. I know he's a guy that does deal with some mental strains on the outside of the octagon, so that's not always going to be easy for him, but that was a great performance. That's exactly what he needed, just what the doctor ordered to get the bandwagon behind Patty the Batty.
Oh, Patty the Batty. Yeah, and also, I told you guys, I remember I was texting you guys going into the weekend, and I was like, I just unloaded a big bet on Patty Pimblett. I don't know, sometimes you just get that inkling, and that one turned out pretty well, especially when it only takes 1 round. It took the full distance for Arnold Allen to take out Giga Chikadze. I thought Giga looked pretty good in the first round, and then I thought Arnold Allen pretty much dominated the rest of the fight. Arnold Allen's a problem.
Yeah, he was another one that probably quietly needed this one the most because, I think if you were looking at a sneaky dog this past week, Giga was one I liked going into that one, and I thought that early on he looks pretty decent. But Arnold Allen, like this is a guy who also people have thought is a really great featherweight prospect. The Max Holloway fight derailed him a little bit, but it's Max Holloway. Like you can't knock him too much. So it's good to see him back in the win column. He definitely feels like he could do a lot in this division as his career goes on.
Speaking of Max Holloway, the blessed is best, and he's got a fight coming up. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes when we get you the news and notes of the week. By the way, if you want to make some money, keep your radio turned up here to Tapped Out because not only did producer Jake call Bilal Muhammad at basically, what did we get on that? Plus 275, almost, what was it? Or what did that end up at? 2-1? What did Bilal go off at? Pretty good size underdog. I said Aspinall was going to finish it in 1. You could have got, or in 1 minute, could have got 8-1 odds on that. And then we said Patty was going to win by sub, and that only took a round also. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying, if you're trying to make some money, you come to the right place. And then earlier today, we had some fights in Abu Dhabi. The main event, Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov, which means Khabib Nurmagomedov was in his corner. All the Nurmagomedovs. I had Sandhagen at 3-1 odds at BetMGM. I just liked the value, and then the fight started, and I pretty much thought he got dominated by Nurmagomedov.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Listen, I was gonna throw some money on Sandman too, and I didn't last minute, so I'm thankful that I did not lose any money on it. I thought that he had a really promising start. I think, in my opinion, the only round that he won was the first. It was really close rounds 2 and 3. I thought they were close, but I thought that Umar was getting the better of it. And then I thought that it was pretty lopsided from then on out. I thought that Corey just looked a little defeated. He was getting not the better of the striking either. So I thought it was a great performance for Umar to do that, to not take on any ranked fighters, to go right to a main event, take on number 2 in the world, a guy who's very difficult to figure out, and also did a really good job of taking away your plan A, which was, take him down, choke him out, and basically get into a striking match with him and outstrike a guy like Corey Sandhagen. Man, I mean, Umar Nurmagomedov, I don't know if it was the flashiest fight in the world, but I definitely think that if you're Sean O'Malley and you're Merab, whoever comes out of that title fight, you definitely have to be on notice because this is not a guy that looks like he has a whole lot of weaknesses.
So you think he's got the shot at the title next and not one more fight? Because Corey Sandhagen, I feel like if he would have won the fight, it would be a sure thing. Honestly, he probably should have got a shot already. Think about what he did to Cheeto Vera, beat him up, and then Cheeto got the shot basically right after that. Nurmagomedov, to me, I mean, it seems like either one more fight or you just sit for a minute, see what happens, like you said, in the Merab versus O'Malley fight, and then maybe the belt's on the line next.
Yeah, it's tough to know because, like, look, he's got a ton of fresh opponents that he could go with because this is his first dive into the rankings, right? So he could go out there and he could basically take on anybody, and you'd be like, that's a fun matchup. But he's already taken on the highest ranked guy that he could, so it's really on him as far as he's pretty lined up with the champions. Like, he doesn't have to find anybody else. You just always kind of leave the risk of, all right, do they do a O'Malley rematch? Does, Merab wins? I don't know. But, does he have to go fight Piotr Jan? Does he have to go fight Figueiredo? Like, I don't think so. I think he beat a guy who's legitimately like the next best guy in the weight class. So from my mind, I think that he's definitely in the driver's seat for that next title shot.
That's Brendan Tobin on the Sports Machine, Sean Levine, talking a little fighting here on the BetQL network. So let's go from Nurmagomedov to just Magomedov. The Bolt stepped back into the octagon. He won again. Not only does he look good when he fights, but that guy is scary as hell. Can you imagine seeing that guy in an alley?
Very scary. Red beard, two colored eyes. Definitely has the look to him as a menace. And it's interesting watching him fight too, because the guy loves throwing kicks. He loves throwing knees. He's not like, outside of his hair and eyes. Like, I don't think it's the most physically imposing body, but he fights very fascinating because it's like he's throwing almost as many kicks as he is punches. And good performance by him today. It wasn't like spectacular as far as, like, I don't think it left everybody's jaw drop. It wasn't a viral moment like maybe his last one, but the guy's already got like a star charisma to him because of his look is so unique. Like, everyone is gonna stop and be like, what the hell is on my television right now?
Seriously, that red beard, that red hair, not only the two different color eyes, but I mean, he's got a lazy eye like me. Like, one of those eyes, I'm not sure if it's the blue one or the brown one, but it's looking in a totally different direction. That's scary. Trust me. When you step right across the cage from a guy like that, he's already won the mental battle. A fight that I feel like was going to happen at some point, and it did a couple hours ago. Cheeto Vera ended up winning against Davison Figueiredo ended up winning against Cheeto Vera. Davison Figueiredo came in as the slight favorite. I made a little bit of money on that one. That was basically just throw it against the wall and see what ends up sticking. I'm glad I was on the right side, though.
Yeah, it's just become very frustrating watching Cheeto fight. Like, there's a reason he's a fan favorite, because at any point he could head kick you into the bleachers and do fun things. But this has become the story of his career, where it's just like, first off, he always gets out to a slow start because he basically spends the entire first round looking at his opponent. And then, he kind of gets it going late in the second round. And then it feels like, all right, he's either going to knock you out or the other guy is going to win a decision. And, I just feel like he's got to go back to the well and figure some things out to get into gear faster in these fights, because he basically got a title shot because of his weird win against Sean, and it was a grudge match. But in reality, he hasn't been fighting like himself, since the Dominic Cruz fight? We've been, you marvel at the toughness because, he takes that crazy knee from Sean O'Malley, and yeah, he's a great personality. What if we had him on 2-3 times on the show? He's an awesome personality. He's a great dude. But yeah, he just doesn't look anywhere near like a championship caliber fighter.
Yeah, he's come on a few times. Great guy. Although, if I'm being honest, if he was a stock, he's not going up. Like Cheeto Vera in his last handful of fights, you're right, hasn't looked like the old Marlon Vera. Same thing with Tony Ferguson. You want to talk about a stock that's heading down. He got choked out earlier today by Michael Chiesa. Dude, that's 8 in a row. And then at the end, he was almost going to retire. He took off his gloves. Then he laid down one of them. And then he told Daniel Cormier that he was sort of retired. Dude, just retire, right?
Yeah, I just don't know what we're doing anymore. Like, I love Tony. I'm usually all about fighters going out on their own terms, but yeah, you're talking the guy probably should have retired 4 fights ago, and it just keeps going.
I can't believe the promotion hasn't stepped in at this point. Why do they keep giving him fights? When I saw Tony Ferguson's name on the card, I was like, that Tony Ferguson? Or is there another one? Because there's no way they want that guy to be in the cage again. And then there he is. Like, Hunter Campbell should have grabbed him as he walked back in the locker room and taken that other glove and been like, dude, you're done. All right. Also, Mackenzie Dern beat Lupe Godinez by decision. Coming up on the other side, lots of fight announcements. We'll break them all down right here. It's Tapped Out on the BetQL Network.